I know it's working. Well, we started the Mishnah, right? Yeah. We're going to summarize it again.
Yeah, and the second was terrible. 1 minute, 1 minute, go.
Okay, Rabbi side, let's get going. Where's this thing here? 21. A5. We're in the Mishnah. We started the Mishnah last week. We're now moving on to the topic of a Nazir and what a Nazir could receive lashes for. We said a Nazir who drinks wine all day, right? We spoke about he got one warning in the beginning and then he sipped wine the entire day. What happens as a result? We said he gets lashes once. If they warned him continuously each time he was sipping, they warned him over and over and over, then he gets lashes many times. Well, in theory, he won't handle lashes many times, but at least in theory, he could get lashes. Same thing about walking around the dead in a cemetery. If it's a one warning and he walks around the whole day, it's one avera. If they keep on warning him over and over, get out of the cemetery, don't walk around the graves, then he's a penalty for everything. Okay. And I think we even went on to the next one.
No.
Okay, with Abtia?
Yeah.
Okay. Second paragraph. So what happens if he's shaving his head all day? I don't know how you shave your head all day, but maybe you're cutting your hair. I don't know, parts of your head, scissors, cut. I don't know what you're doing all day. that would be all day. Yeah. Vitalis. So then you have a problem. What? Keeps it growing. Brian, are you a proof in case? Are you a case in proof? Did you try that?
If you comb your hair a lot, it makes your hair grow faster.
That could be okay.
Because it stretches the roots.
So he was shaving his head all day, but only received one warning at the beginning. He gets lashes once. If they said to him, don't shave continuously, and he kept on shaving, then obviously once again the principle applies. Then you are obligated, you are negligent or liable twice or many times. Yeah. So the footnote 57 points out that a Nazir is subject to Makkos even when cutting one hair. So you're literally cutting a hair at a time throughout the day. For that, you're going to be liable for Makkos lashes. Okay. Now, next case. This is different. This is about wearing kilayim, shatnez. Let's discuss that in a second. This is not regarding it's not regarding a Nazir necessarily. This is now changing subject. This is talking about everybody. We are told that we can't wear shatnez, and let's discuss this for a little bit. Shatnez means a mixture of wool and linen. It's called shatnez, or another term to describe it is called kilayim. We use the word kilayim when it comes to mixture of plants. You can't mix plants. It's the vineyard in particular, right? Grapes and wheat, grapes and all fruits that the vineyard could influence, we can't mix. We're loving your baking. You want to bring some biscuits to the table?
Making chips.
No, it's biscuits. So you can't mix grape into, it speaks specifically about the vineyard. You can't mix grape into other fruits and create a mixture, a blend.
Grapes.
A hybrid. Grapes and? Yeah. Is there such a thing? No. In planting stage. Hybrid, crossbreed of produce. And it says specifically grapes. We do have, for example, apple, pears, and other such things. Even apple pears or notches and something else.
Quadrilline, what do they call it? Not nectarine.
So to be honest, I want to do some more research on this topic because I want to do some. What's it called?
Mandarin.
Mandarin, yeah. In Australia, we used to call all nachos mandarins. Everything was called
Yeah,
mandarins.
but you backward.
It sounds like it's a particular mix of something. So I want to do a bit more research on this topic now that we're discussing this, because the last time I researched this, I had a few questions. Number one is I noticed something about the vineyard being a condition of kilayim, meaning the vine or the grape had to be involved in every to be prohibited. I recall something about the vine being involved in every case. So I'm going to look that up. Is it specifically with the vine, or is it all fruits? Number two is I remember having a conversation about, or a discussion around whether the producing is the problem, or is the eating the problem. Now we do eat mixtures of fruits. We just gave a few examples. We haven't listed an example of a grape mix where it's mixed with grapes, but we do eat the mixed product. Is the mixing the issue, or is the eating the issue of fruits? Okay, so it says that the farmer can't plant them as mixed, but no, he can sell them maybe. And then the buyers, once they're already produced, maybe the buyers could benefit from. What's the issue? The issue is that Hashem gave certain character traits to certain products and wanted them to be kept separate. And the moment you mix them together, you're compromising the character trait or the quality of that particular fruit. So therefore, once it's already produced and you've now produced a mixture of fruits, is it now okay for me to eat of it? Even though it was produced wrongly, but can I now eat of it? So that's another discussion which I recall. I haven't looked it up in context of this.
Think about it, you buy from Sir Juice fruit cocktail, which is a juice which is blended and mixed, but it wouldn't be kosher if you...
No, grafting, that's the word, grafting.
Right plants, a lot of them are grafted. The roots belong to another plant and they graft.
Yeah, interesting.
Same with citrus.
So it's feeding like taste and other things from other fruits into the vineyard.
Which is an amazing thing where
Interesting.
vines are grafted. There's a candy floss. Is that?
I mean a candy floss.
It's like a taste.
No, but that's just...
What? So they must have. They plant it with something. What they plant it with? Unless they soak them in candy floss. Interesting.
What's candy floss, Michael?
Sugar.
Sugar. You can see this, and
So you say how they make seedless grapes?
you know.
I mean, you mean the influence of another fruit?
It's a different
Hybrid, yeah. Right. So that's kilayim. Right. Sure.
And they have it, see.
Because they're not black, they're white. Right. So that's the number one. We have to do more research into what exactly fruits are prohibited. But the same thing applies to animals. You can't farm with two animals together, because a cow and a sheep, or a cow and a horse, are abusing the strength of each one.
That's harnessing them together.
Using them on the same plow, on the same wagon.
Together.
Yeah, sure.
Right,
Sure.
like corn.
Using the same plow, using the same animal, using the same chariot or wagon. You can't use two animals side by side, because Hashem says each animal was created with its strength and its quality, and therefore you can't compromise the two. Very important. And the same thing applies to clothing. So wool and linen, there's another name for this. One is kilayim, mixture, and this specific type of kilayim is called shatnez. And shatnez means the mixing of wool and linen. Now, this is a very practical halacha. The only time that wool and linen can be mixed is tzitzis. If you have woolen beged, woolen garment, and linen strings, or vice versa, then that's okay. I think the clothes of the Kohen Gadol is also right. The clothes of the Kohen Gadol was allowed to be shatnez. They're not mixed. That's right. So, but let me just say something about that, because it's not necessarily only, maybe slightly. Talk about a suit, for example. So let's explain this. Many people don't know that when you buy suits, the collars, all the buttons, all the whole strengtheners around the button, all the string that ties, only the string that ties the button to the clothing could be in a woolen suit, could be linen. Now, I've had this personally where I've taken a suit. So the way it works is like this. If you buy cotton, it's right, cotton, yes, in a woolen suit. So if you buy a woolen suit, if it's a polyester, if it's a polyester or mix, then I doubt. For some reason, I have this thinking. No, but if it's a mix of wool and polyester, you have to check if there's cotton there. You have to see if there's cotton, and often they won't tell you. They don't have to declare. They don't have to tell you that the cotton strings holding the buttons to the jacket. They don't have to say that. That's not considered cotton. So normally, what happens when you buy a suit is, for some reason, I have this thing that if it's a mix of polyester and wool, they wouldn't do it, but I can't be quoted on that. Generally, if you buy 100% wool suits, you have to send it to be checked for shatnez. Actually, no. I did it for a mix as well recently. I bought Tzvi a mixed suit, and I took it, and we found a problem with something.
So you take it back?
No, you can't take it back. So Bagel's like, right. So Belvi Bokov does it now. His father, Rabbi Bokov, started it, and he took over his father's practice. And now also they've done another one, and that is when you give your jackets into checkers cleaners, right? Opposite Genesis. So Rabbi Dr. Mohel Dean Gerson is also a shatnez checker. He's what we call a kol yochel. He has a hand in everything. So he's an ENT, and he's now a rabbi as well, and he's studying. Exactly. So he picks up. What we do is you hand it into checkers. And he said, "I'd like to check this in shatnez." They then send it off to him, and he does it. Yeah. So so one needs to check, and I've found in one suit, it was an American suit, on the pocket of the collar there was a stiffener. There was a collar stiffener that was cotton in a woolen suit. Then we've had inside there, yeah. I think linen and cotton is the same problem. It's natural fiber. They cut it out and restitch a fake. Well, that in that particular case, they cut it all out and they put a fake. It wasn't as stiff as that was. They put a fake fill in, and they said to me, "Your collar's not going to be as stiff as it used to be because the whole design was to have a stiff collar." And now that they took out the I think it was linen, bone. Oh, really? Had bone inside.
You get that plastic.
Oh, shatnez inside. Right, and then often the buttons, they don't want the buttons to come off. So the linen or the cotton is a tight material that the button won't come off. Whereas the wool can fade over time and the button falls off. Okay, that's the idea. Anyways, being a natural fiber. I'm almost sure they're related.
Oh.
The two of them.
So wool's up.
100% cotton.
Cotton grows on a plant.
Very good. Wool is from animal. Very good. Another one is plants. You're mixing animal with plants. Right. Very good. Very good. Very good. That does explain it better. Thank you. Yeah. So that's very important. And the same thing applies to coats. Woolen coats also have to be checked because we don't know at what point in the jacket they've checked it. Costs a few rands. No, it doesn't rob the bank. Once you pay for a coat or pay for a suit, you can afford 150 more rands to check it. But yeah, that's the process. Or in Israel, what's very very interesting. I've bought it. My last kapota, my current kapota was bought in Israel, and there they sell it to you in the kapotas in particular. In the religious stores, they say it's shatnez free. So they only buy it from a manufacturer that they know who's going to manufacture it without the mixture of two. That's quite cool.
And I bought a wedding suit at colleagues. I didn't even ask him the question. He said, that one you can't, that one is not woolen.
He said to you. Oh, really?
Okay.
So some stores like Raymond's describing, have a set system in place where they say these suits are not mixtures, these suits are mixtures, and you can pretty much go with the flow and stick, and trust that range of suits. If you establish a chazaka, right, a precedent, so to speak, and this particular range of coats, so this particular range of suits doesn't have shatnez in them, then you can rely on that, right? I once spoke to Velvi Bokov about Woolworths stuff, and he said to me, you can never rely on Woolworths consistently because they're getting their stuff from different suppliers. And they may look the same. One factory is doing this lot, and that one factory is doing that lot, and then they put on the same hook, on the same hang, and it looks the same. Can't tell the difference. And each one's manufacturing it their own unique way, and Woolworths is just selling it. And Woolworths not asking them what's cotton, what's linen, what's wool. They don't analyze such detail. So you got to check them all. So in that case, he says it's not a range. You can't rely on a range and say it's precedence, that particular range. Okay, so that's just generally the.
For me, that's not a problem. I've only read it twice in the last 30 years. Both my weddings.
You mean your civil wedding and your religious wedding?
So I had to hire a suit and I had to send it to check as well.
You hired it and then checked it. Wow.
But the guy that I rented it from was actually quite clued up. Was an Indian guy.
Right.
Was quite clued up. He said, "No, you can't use this one, can't use this one, can't." And I said,
Joseph's name, it used to be come down Sugar, that place in town. Now they moved out to Midrand.
It's not Peter Reserve.
Top Hat they used to be called. Remember Top Hat? No, I used to come down Sugar. I'll think of his
Top
name.
Hat has a hat store. You talking about the manufacturer hats? They manufacture hats?
No, they're high.
There's another Jewish owner there.
Now there's exclusive something because I went to, it wasn't whether one of the charged me paid me to buy a suit.
Okay, let's go on. So what's the issue here? A person was wearing kilayim, i.e. he was wearing shatnez. Right? Shatnez is one type of kilayim. Kilayim is a overriding principle of not mixing. He was wearing shatnez. So now, so this is a biblical prohibition. To wear shatnez is a biblical problem. And if he does so, he's transgressed the Avera and then gets Makkos for what he's done. Amruloi, one lot of Makkos. Amruloi al tilbash. If they warned him over and over, stop wearing, and he continues to wear his jacket, here's an extra detail here. He removes it and puts it on again. That's an extra detail. We haven't learned that yet. What's 59? According to Gemara's conclusion, below 21b, we'll get to that. One need not actually remove and put on the garment to incur multiple liabilities. You don't have to take it on and put it off again, as long as he has time to do so between each warning. So hypothetically, you could take it on and take it off. That's the point. So the fact that you could have removed it and put it back on again, that's enough time to be considered negligent. Okay, so let's get back here. So the Gemara says he took it off and put it on again. In the footnote, we're going to learn it's not necessarily. There was enough time to put it on, to take it on and put it off again. That's when you're liable. Then you're liable for every time of wearing shatnez. Each moment that you're wearing shatnez because you've received the warning. Over the page 221b1. Yeah. Okay. We still go on. This is still the Mishnah. It's a long Mishnah. Another case of kilayim and multiple penalties. Let's go. Yesh choresh telem. Sure.
So it's about the mix of the two different things in one garment.
Yeah.
So let's say I have a nice cotton shirt and I put on my woolen jersey.
Yeah, it's fine.
Problem.
No problem at all. Exactly. In one garment.
Yeah.
The fibers have been touched. So you have a polyester garment and on the sleeve you have wool and the sleeve you have linen.
If you have a woolen, you saying if you have a woolen jersey and embroidery with cotton,
No, not even like you have
that's a
No,
problem.
that'll be a problem. What are you describing?
so you have a jacket made out of something synthetic.
Yeah.
And then you have on the right hand side, you have, say, you have a wooden.
No, but wool and synthetic is okay.
So I'm saying on the other side, you have linen. So now you have both fibers aren't touching, but they're both on the coat.
Oh, I see. Wool knitted here,
Yeah.
and polyester knitted here into a garment that is
As needed.
called synthetic. I know, but I don't know if that's the condition. So now I have a hypothetical case. I don't know. I could argue that the synthetic material blends the two or merges the two into one. Not sure. Okay, so all right. Yesh choresh telem echad. Someone who's digging a furrow, he's plowing. Okay. And when he digs this furrow, he's transgressing 8 prohibitions. Means he'll get 8 times lashes. Impossible, but hypothetically, he'll get 8 times lashes.
We need a footnote to explain that.
Yeah, we need a bit of a footnote here. So let's read this. Having just discussed the prohibition against wearing kilayim, garments of wool and linen, the Tana now turns to another kilayim prohibition, the one against plowing with 2 species of animals yoked together, and shows how from that one act, an assortment of other prohibitions can accrue. Let's skip the brackets. The Tana does not gratuitously enlarge a collection of prohibitions by adding multiple pairs. Okay, for the case. Okay, we'll see as we go along. Right, we're talking about he was warned for each one. He could get, in theory, if he was warned for each one, he could get 8 penalties. So what is this talking about? So he explains what it's talking about. Somebody who plowed this furrow in his field with a donkey and an ox. So that's a clear prohibition of working with the 2 animals, 2 species. The hein mukdashim, and they are consecrated, meaning they belong to the Beis HaMikdash. They were given as a contribution, as a korban, or even the value of an animal, because not all animals given to the Beis HaMikdash were going to be holy. They were going to be offered. They were often going to be sold, and the money of that animal would be then dedicated to the Beis HaMikdash. So these particular animals were consecrated. The footnote actually says here, the footnote of number 3. Let's read a little bit about this. It's talking about firstborns. The Gemara concludes that this refers to where the ox and donkey have become consecrated as firstborn animals. The firstborn males of kosher animals, cows, sheep, and goats, are sacred from birth and are given to the Kohanim to be brought as offerings. The only non-kosher animal with the firstborn status is the donkey. The donkey can have a firstborn. They are redeemed for sheep, which then becomes the property of the Kohanim. Did you know that? That you can redeem a donkey, because a donkey needs to have a firstborn. It's called Petach Hamor. It's very unique. See it here. I was going to say Gezeras HaKosel, a decree of Hashem, a decree of the Torah, as we said, illogical, no reason. But that a donkey is unique in the non-kosher animals, that we have to remove the firstborn donkey. We have to redeem the firstborn donkey. But then something rings a bell about the fact that the donkeys carried us out of Mitzrayim. So possibly because of that, we acknowledge that by redeeming the firstborn. Now, how this is done is they're redeemed for sheep, and then that becomes the property of the Kohanim, meaning the sheep becomes the property of the Kohanim. By the way, talking about Rabbi Gerson's, Dr. Gerson's exotic animals, so he's working with, there's a youth club called Sivot Hashem, which has just purchased, they've been given, they didn't have to be purchased, they've been given the property in Sandringham of do you know about this?
Next to the
Jabula, next to the library, Jabula. It's quite an amazing story. The municipality just gave them this youth group. Yeah. There's an old house there on the top, and they just gave them the whole property because they said that we'd rather have you using it for the children of the community. You can take it. I think under ownership. So their plans are that they want to renovate the house at some point and there's a massive field. It's a massive field. So Dean Gerson and someone else is involved in running a farm there. They've got like animals there. Right. But I don't know if they keep them there. Are they're there all permanently? Who? His brother works where? He helps them out. Oh, really? Oh, is that what happens? Someone told me they're not allowed to leave them there. So what do? They take them back to somewhere every night. I mean, no, Gerson, he had a house.
One of his houses, it's all budget.
That's right.
It is a public space. So it could be stolen. So what? They load them up and take them out every night. They walk them back. Seriously.
I've never seen them there. I think they must make
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Really? Okay, so basically they showed a case. They showed a case where they're trying to produce a donkey. I think there's a male and female there. They're trying to produce a donkey because South Africa has never seen. Australia did this because I know my cousins were involved. South Africa has never seen a Peter Chamor, the redeeming of a firstborn donkey. Because no Jewish farmer. Biblical commandment, yeah. Still good. Yeah. Oh, because he said, because we do firstborn children today. Same thing. I think we give the sheep to a kohen and it becomes his property. Same way as we give money to a kohen. So you give the sheep to a kohen. So Africa has never seen a Petach Hamor. The reason being is because show me a Jewish farmer that's been religious, wanting to keep the laws properly, having a firstborn donkey, redeeming the firstborn donkey with a sheep, giving the sheep to a kohen. It's quite technical, right? So Australia did this. Oh, that's the ad. It's good for the grandkids.
For the kids.
Yeah.
50 rand into the bag. 50 rand.
Okay.
That's super to the farmer.
many form of donkeys. That's what it is. Probably.
Oh, that's the reason. Right, there you go.
Leather and cotton. You wouldn't belt. Because that was an animal and same thing.
Interesting.
Well, how do you sew shoes together?
You would. No, I think it's okay. It's a good question. Why it's okay? I don't know. Leather and cotton. If you were to wear, we're talking about specific garments, so pants, jackets, with cotton, with linen.
Don't be shaky on your
No, you're right. The law is the law. Torah said, but the lawyers, absolutely. Okay, let's get back to this. So,
You do shaky on your shoes, haven't you?
No.
But maybe that's why the way out.
Even garments. I don't know.
We started when we did brachot. We had a discussion about
To what point you say Shafiyan? It's very unique early. Yeah, if Yom because we wear extra new garment to Yom.
We're saying that we do it either way.
That's right.
Wear a new garment, just
Exactly. Justify the Shafiyan. Exactly. Okay, let's get back to this point. So now I want to continue with this thing. So the donkey. So they're actually farming a donkey. I think there's a young lady donkey, female donkey there, and the point is to impregnate her with, and they want to have a firstborn. I don't know if it has to be a firstborn male, female. Okay, and then they want to do a public mitzvah of redeeming the donkey with a kohen. because it's a biblical commandment. With the sheep, have a sheep there, yeah, exactly.
I think they must be learning Malchus as well.
Yeah, no, but this sheep is now belongs to the Kohen to eat of the sheep.
But only you can slaughter it, but only Kohanim could eat it.
It's a good question. Yeah, I think unless you're saying, can he distribute it to others? Is that what you're saying? Don't know. Truma he can't. We don't do truma today, but truma he can't. I don't know about the bechorah that he eats. It could become his personally. If it's his personally, then he can distribute. I'm not sure. Okay, let's continue the footnote here. So then we're in the middle. They're redeemed for sheep, which then becomes the property of the Kohanim. The Torah states, "You shall not work with the firstborn of your ox." Our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda in Bechoros, who holds that a firstborn donkey is forbidden for benefit before redemption, and so one would transgress this prohibition if he worked with the firstborn donkey as well. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Let's leave the rest of it. Okay. Let's get back to the top. So we're talking about the donkey and the ox, and they are consecrated. So which means that they're the firstborn, and the firstborn case, you can't use it until you've redeemed it. Okay, the shor being the kosher animal, the chamor being the unique non-kosher animal, both have to have the redeeming of the firstborn. Okay, that's the second prohibition. Next, the kilayim bekerem, and he put mingled species of kilayim in a vineyard. And then that's where remember I told you, I think there's a detail of vineyard here. So Rod says that he's seen the grafting in vineyards. So that's what he did. He mingled species in a vineyard. Look at number 4. The Torah commands, do not sow your vineyard with mixed species. See chulin, for example, which species and in what combination. It's quite technical. What combinations the prohibition encompasses. The Mishnah speaks of where these seeds were lying together on the ground and this person plowed the ground, thereby covering the seeds. This is the 4th prohibition. For covering the seeds of mixed species is tantamount to sowing them. Okay, so he took these mixed species, this mixture of vineyard and other, and together with the animal, he plowed it. It's interesting. One could say, I didn't plow it. The animals plowed it.
Well, he didn't know the seeds were mixed.
That's a good justification.
What should you say? You should plow it.
They need the instruction from the owner. It just shows you. What I'm trying to show is that you didn't necessarily do the prohibition yourself. But by you leading your animals towards the furrow and doing the act, even though you didn't do it yourself with your hands, it's still a prohibition. We see that in Shabbos also. If you work your animals on Shabbos, you didn't necessarily do work, but your animals worked for you, then it's problematic. We say that in Kiddush. Yeah. There's the animals there. You can't work your animals on Shabbos. So if they're carrying the plow, you didn't necessarily do plowing. That's a prohibition. That's right. That's your work. If the animals graze, it's okay. If you're plowing with them, that's called your benefit. Because So one says there's 2 things here, right? So in business, that's how it works. In business, you give away the profits and the earnings of that particular day. But in the case of the cow plowing, it's more complicated because on Monday when you work, you're already benefiting from the plowing that was done on Shabbos. That's more complicated now. And then the animal goes through Shabbos. So you gave the instruction, right? Yeah. Okay, Brian. So that's slightly different. Now, what you could argue is like this: what happens if I have a non-Jewish partner, and the non-Jewish partner wants to use the cow to plow the field because he wants to benefit, and the fact that I get benefit from it, is that okay?
Something that you get started and then you.
Yeah, that would work. But that would work only in profits. In profits. But I'll tell you what that case is similar to. If you have profits. So again, I'm not sure the details of this contract, but you would say that the earnings of the Saturdays are yours, and the earnings of the Mondays are mine. But I think there's a way that's done cleverly where basically mixes everything into one pool. So because what you can do is you can say, fine, I earn the profits of Saturday, meaning the non-Jew. You earn the profits of Monday, but I think the contract says, and we both throw it back into the pot afterwards. So at the end of the day, the profit share is going to be equal, but that's because we decided afterwards to throw it back in. I'm almost sure that's what the contract does. So initially, hypothetically, this is yours, this is mine. But we've agreed that whatever I earn and whatever you earn, we're going to throw back into the pot, and then we're going to divide equally. And that you're allowed to do, because the non-Jew is allowed to put his gift in to the mix. That's how you would do a partnership. Yeah. And by the way, the Beis Din does this. I mean, I'm happy to help if anyone needs, but the Beis Din has a star that they use, and that's the process. So get back to this point about I was going to mention something about this. Oh, let's go back to that example where the non-Jew wanted to farm the land because he wanted the benefit, but the Jew ends up benefiting from that plowing as well. I would say it's similar to the following case. It's similar to a situation where a non-Jew walks in and puts on the lights for a Jew on Shabbos. Or a non-Jew boils hot water and the Jew wants to benefit from the hot water too. Now, it's not so simple. We can't benefit from this is a whole new topic of benefiting from a non-Jew. But we can't benefit from a non-Jew doing malacha if they had us in mind. Even if, it's quite technical, even if they're going to benefit, in other words, they're going to do it purely for themselves. The lights is purely for themselves. Then I can benefit from it.
If you can hint.
It's problematic because then if you hint and they're doing it for you, then it's problematic. That's the problem. There's two issues in South Africa. We have this problem because we have help. So in many other countries, they don't have help around the house, so they don't know what this halacha means. In other countries, you got to go to the street and like wave down a non-Jew in a car and say, "Would you mind coming into my house to help me?" You know, that's how they interpret the halacha. By us, it's like literally in our kitchens. So hinting. There's two issues in Amira. It's called Amira Lanachri, instructing the non-Jew. One is giving the instruction, which we can't do. The other is benefiting from their act. They're both prohibited. That's different, exactly. But the question is, if I'm going to benefit from that act, even though I'm not giving the instruction on Shabbos, I'm going to benefit from the act, then I've got a problem. Which is no, because I'm still benefit. So I'm saying it's two parts. There's the instruction part and there's the benefiting part, and they're both prohibited. So the only time a non-Jew can actually do malacha for you, if he was told before Shabbos to do it, is to switch off something on Shabbos, because then there's no benefit. Well, there's an indirect cost benefit, or something like that.
It stops the house burning down.
Or stops the house burning down, right? So you can instruct. You can tell a non-Jew, even by hinting, maybe you can instruct him before Shabbos and hint to him before Shabbos. When the soup is boiling, turn off the stove. Or in Shabbos, can't say turn off the stove. We don't need the stove any longer, right? So that's different because you've given a hint. They've switched off the stove and you're not directly benefiting. But if there's something that they're going to create direct benefit to me, for example, if they walk in and they say, "You guys are sitting in the dark, you need some light," it's a problem. If the urn boils out, right? I had this a few weeks ago. The urn boiled out, and she was deliberating what she's allowed to do on it. My maid, yeah, can she do it or not? Right. So it depends what her intentions are. If she has me in mind, it's a problem.
How do you know that?
So it's part of the conversation. So I said, I'll tell you what I did. She said, it was in the morning. She says, the urn's boiled out. I said, okay. So she said, can I heat up the hot water. I said, not for me. She says, okay, I'll use the urn for herself. I said, look, you can use this if you want. You don't have to heat up the urn. You can use this for the same price. She says, okay, I'll use this. And she boiled up the kettle. In other words, she wanted hot water either way. So she used that. I said, fine, use this. So she heated it. And then I benefited from that. But it's very unique to do it that way.
Hang on, she boiled the kettle, she made a cup of coffee, and you took the water.
Exactly. See, by the way, you could do it in a real kettle too. If she uses a real kettle on Shabbos, not a Shabbos urn, she used a real kettle for her coffee in the morning, you could then go and take her kettle, but she didn't have you in mind.
She made herself a cup.
Yeah, that's the laws official. That's for sure.
So could she boil, could she take the herb, fill it with it, turn it up to boil up, turn it down and make herself a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
And then you can come after.
Yeah, but if she knows that this is your style, and if she knows this is your,
That's your Sabbath.
if she does it every week this way, it's a problem because she knows your style. So that means she knows that you're going to benefit every week from her cup of coffee. That's already problematic because the moment she has you in mind, it becomes problematic now because now she's intending to have you in mind. And that you can't do. Okay, so we plug that in. We have to keep on reminding them over and over and over and over. This kettle is plugged in before Shabbos. Okay, we had a complication, and
problem with, I'm not sure if it was soup or something.
what happened?
No, there wasn't soup the 1 week at the broth or something.
No. That wasn't. There was a week that the soup was off, and then the next week Leanne decided not to order soup,
Okay.
and everyone wanted to know what happened. It was freezing cold, and the soup's gone. And she said she was so traumatized by off soup that she didn't want to order anything, and people were shocked. Like, what happened?
You should smell it when you walk.
Yeah, it's the whole. So once again, yeah, exactly. So the urn has to be plugged in before Shabbos on coffee. Now I'll tell you what we had. We had a mishap where on Yom Tov we had instructed the staff to refill the urn. It was like Sukkot or Pesach. Not can't be Pesach. It was Shavuos. We instructed the staff to refill the urn on Yom Tov because they had all that learning which they came to. Right? Came Shabbos after Shavuos. I think it was a 3-day Yom Tov. Came Shabbos after Shavuos, and someone caught them on Shabbos morning refilling the urn. And they came to me and shouting, "Oh, your staff are refilling the urn. What's going on? What's going on?" They got mixed up because Yom Tov they filled and they forget every year. We have to go every Yom Tov. We have to go through this. So they were told 2 days ago to fill up the urn. Came Shabbos, they were screamed at for filling up the urn. So that's the problem. So I did explain to them. I said Shabbos and Yom Tov are 2 different days. Well, the fact that you filled it up is because it was Yom Tov. On Shabbos you can't fill it up. Okay, but they'll forget it by next time. They have to be reminded all the time.
You've got Sukkot on Shabbos.
Exactly. What?
Sukkot on Shabbos this coming year.
Sukkot is on Shabbos. So it's Shana. Okay, we're trying to read a Baruch anyway. But Sukkot. Oh yeah. Yeah. And if you say, you mean there's no one there to say lower it. But let it burn out. And you do. You can tell a non-Jew if there is someone there, this is going wild, you better do something about it. No, there's a problem. No, burn out. Let it burn out.
But they can cause a fire.
So most of them there's a security button. There's a safety switch out. The white ones for sure have them, and even the newer ones have them. They switch out, so it burns out, and then it clicks. The button goes. Lewis. Yes. So okay. So I must be honest. I picked this up afterwards. The first time I found out about it was on Shabbos morning when the Chiller guys drove into the parking lot, and I see them walking out. I said, "What are you guys doing here?" So first the security guys approached them, our guys, and said, "What are you guys here for?" They said, "We're from Chiller," and just let them go. And I said, "Hold on, what?" So he pulled them back. He says, "The rabbi wants to." I said, "Just tell me where you're from." Chiller. I said, "Okay." And then I did a full investigation. Howard Lieberman was on security. He was so impressed by my interrogation. He told Larry Smith, "The rabbi does a good interrogation here. I want to know what they're doing here. What on earth? What machines are they coming to do?" So he said to me, well, we got slash machines and chiller machines. I was like, oh, very interesting. And I said, Shabbos. And he said, no, we plugged it in before Shabbos. This is a non-Jewish black driver. He told me without me even asking. I plugged it in before Shabbos. That means the machines are running the whole of Shabbos. Empty. Water. I don't know what's in them. He says, we came in, and then I checked with Leanne, because Leanne hadn't told me. I said, you got to tell me this next time. If there's anything electric that's going to be on, I need to know about it before Shabbos. She didn't realize. Okay, she learned. But she said, no, they told me at 4:30, they're going to put them on. How they leave them on, I don't know. And how they feed the ice on Shabbos, to crash ice on Shabbos, right? They're crashing ice on Shabbos, which is problematic. So the answer is not ideal. So the answer to me, so you don't want this again in the future? I said, no, we don't want this again. So,
Part of the
say again? No, but they prepare. So Menachem said there are shuls that have machines permanently, but they fill them before Shabbos. It's already been crashed, and it sits there churning the machines.
Because it's basically just a milk cycle, and it starts with forming the ice. But you're still using electricity. There's an extra motor that kicks in to start.
What? When you open the tap?
Nice.
Continues now. Think about it now.
But I want to know if the crushing of the ice it must crush ice, right? You pour ice in, it crushes ice. No. Does it form its own ice, or do you feed ice into it? Its own ice. Okay, so I need to do some research on this about the chiller machines as to whether we can do this in the future. He has them. But are they not? But are they not prepared before Shabbos? They're not prepared the concoction before Shabbos and have them running. The truth is, I don't know when ours was made because I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't sure when ours was made. It could have been sitting. The truth is, it could have been sitting there the whole night. Could have been sitting there the whole night. He said he put it on. So he obviously knew something, but I couldn't ask too many questions. And anyway, so I did my initial.
on at 4:00, and maybe it's an hour, whatever those 2 hours, hour and a half before Shabbos started.
He crashed over it. No, sure. No, sure. If it's running the whole night and then they just came to serve it the next day, then that's okay. No, that's different. So we had the same question in our own homes, load shedding. With electric switches out, and then the food goes back on again. That's okay. It gets problematic when the trolley goes cold, but in the 2 hour gaps, that's not so
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll look into that topic. That's a good. How they come in? Non-Jewish working. Okay. Let's get back to this for a second. So we're speaking about the kilayim, right? The non-Jew, the animal putting the seeds in. Let's go on. Ubashvius. I'm going towards the end of the Mishnah. We can go towards the end of the Mishnah. We'll finish the Mishnah now. Ubashvius, and it's a sabbatical year. So that's Shemitah. Okay. And it's Yom Tov. Yom Tov. 1 second. Where's Shabbos? What about Shabbos? Yeah, what about Shabbos? I'm looking now. Look at footnote number 7 about Yom Tov. He is liable to a 6th set of lashes for doing a melacha plowing on Yom Tov. There was no exemption on the grounds that he is involved in preparing food, which is permitted on Yom Tov. His act of plowing is surely not needed for preparing food to eat that same day. Furthermore, some Rishonim maintain that plowing is biblically forbidden in any event, even to prepare food. The Mishnah does not mention plowing on the Shabbos because that transgression is punishable by death and thus carries the Makkos penalty. Interesting. It's Dafka Yom Tov. Why would Yom Tov be different to Shabbos? I guess the punishment is different. The prohibition is the same, but the punishment is different for Yom Tov. Okay. Then Kohen and Nazir. It's a Kohen. He's a Kohen and a Nazir. That means there's 2 there. So that's number 6. That's number 7 and 8. And he's plowing where? In a cemetery. This is a great case, isn't it? Wow. Okay. This is a teaser. This is a quiz. A Jew plows with an animal. A Jew plows a pharaoh. How many prohibitions can he transgress? Okay. The rabbis don't plow a pharaoh then, right? Both the Kohen and Nazir are forbidden to contract a human corpse tumah. Concerning the Torah, the Kohen, the Torah states, he shall not contaminate himself with a dead person among his people.
Very cool.
Regarding a Nazir, he says he shall not approach any dead person.
The coin can't be there near the grave. That's what it's.
That's what he's saying. That's the issue. Thus, when this person plows inside the cemetery, thereby contaminating himself, he transgresses both prohibitions. Interesting, because the plowing is not the issue, by the way. It's being in the cemetery is the issue, but it happens to be part of the same act. Okay, that's how we reach 8. All right, let's go on back to the Gemara. Comes along Hanania ben Chachinai Omer. Hanania says, "Af haloivesh kilayim." In other words, it's someone wearing a garment of shatnez. That's gonna be number 9. That's gonna be number 9. Amuloi. While he's eating. That's true. How far do we stretch this? Amuloi Einoi Hashem. And okay, see, actually, the response is exactly your response. It's not the same nature. No, that's different. What he's wearing is not the act of plowing. It's a completely different story. Number 8 says, i.e., that transgression is not an outgrowth of his being engaged in the act of plowing, but rather that's come from wearing a garment. It's got nothing to do with the actual act itself. Okay, so he said back to them, Afa Nazir lo hu Hashem. If that's the case, then the prohibition of the Nazir and the Kohen, I would think, has nothing to do with plowing either. The fact that he walked through a cemetery has got nothing to do with the plowing. Number 9 and 10, let's see. Hanani refers to both the Nazir and the Kohen, but he wasn't being precise. Interesting, you see? So it's describing that act, the act of Tumah, of walking through a cemetery. It's got nothing to do with plowing, it's a separate case. And number 10 says, i.e., the transgression of a Nazir and a Kohen contracting Tumah also do not arise from the act of plowing. Rather, they come from the act of entering a contaminating place. Hence, inasmuch as the sages did enumerate the Nazir and Kohen Tumah prohibitions, they should also enumerate the wearing of Satnez prohibition as well. The sages, for their part, had the following rationale for including the Nazir and Kohen Tumah prohibitions. What were they thinking? One cannot plow without oxen unless he... interesting. One cannot plow with oxen unless he walks along with them and directs them. You've got to be there. So the walking through the cemetery is part of the plowing, because you can't get to plow if you don't walk into the cemetery. But hence becoming Tomei is somewhat related to the plowing. Whereas wearing shatnez is completely incidental. That you can be wearing another jacket to do. That's not, and so eating as well. So walking through the cemetery is conditional. You have to walk through the cemetery in order to do the act of plowing in the cemetery. But the shatnez garment, he says, no, that's not included because that's a separate case.
He's making panosa. Where does panosa come?
So you want to know the loophole?
There's got to be a loophole for panosa.
For panosa, not biblical prohibitions. That's an interesting case. Okay, so that brings us to the end of that Mishnah on page